What's up? All right, so today's video is going to be a little different. There's actually a lesson from the Bible that I think it's pertinent to private equity, pertinent to business, and just life in general. And so I want to give that disclaimer rather than you giving comments or whatever later. If you have this visceral reaction to learning from the Bible or from a parable from the Bible, save the comments. You can stop the video now. For those of you who are interested in learning from this lesson that I think is very valuable, let's continue. So I've mentioned on the channel, I don't know if everybody's familiar, but my dad was in ministry. And one of the parables that I remember talking to him about that was just like confusing. I didn't get the point of it was the parable of the prodigal son. And I want to assume that everybody knows the story. Essentially, there was a father. He was pretty wealthy. He had two sons. One was the older, more wise, intellectual son. The younger was pretty much a party animal. And he went to the two sons and said, "Hey, I'm going to give you guys a choice. You know, you're of age now. If you want to just cash out your inheritance, you can now and go do whatever you want. If you want to continue investing, growing that inheritance, you can stay here." The younger son's like, "Yo, I'm ready to go. I want to hit up these parties, these festivals, get wild and crazy." And today, it would be today's version. The person is just like hitting Vegas as hard as you can, drugs, all of that madness. And so the younger son, like, "Hey, I'm ready to get out here and start kicking it." So he takes his money and leaves. The older son's like, "Hey, no, Dad, I'm going to stay here. Let's continue to grow our wealth together and grow the farm and all that. And I'll just take the inheritance once you pass." So the younger son goes out, has a bunch of friends, all this, ends up spending all of the money and finds himself friendless, of course. Once he stops spending the money, all the friends are gone, and he finds a job on this farm where he's basically has to beg just to get enough food from the same food that basically he feeds the pigs, and he has to get his payment in the form of some of the food that the pigs are eating. So not especially if you're coming from this wealthy situation and now you're literally eating worse than some of the animals on your dad's farm. So as embarrassed as he has to let go of his ego, turns up on the farm and asks his dad's forgiveness. His dad decides to throw this big party for him. You know, it's like tells the older son, "Let's kill the fattened calf. Your brother has returned." Of course, the older son's like, "What? Like, kill the fattened calf? Like, I don't want to give this guy anything. He squandered half of our wealth, and you're welcoming him back and throwing this huge party? Like, that is crazy to me." And basically, the parable ends with the dad telling the older son, like, "Yes, like, you know, that's right. But the younger son was lost, and now he's found." Now, when I talked to my dad about this, I'm just like, this parable makes no sense to me. Like, why would you celebrate this kid partying? That seems to be against what the Bible's about. Like, what is this? And there's a lot of interpretations, and obviously one is like, oh, the person sinned, and we should be happy that they returned. But the more interesting one to me was the idea that each one of those, the father, the son, and the two sons, just represents parts of us. So if you're familiar with Christianity, there's this whole idea of the Trinity, and you go back to Greeks, they always thought that there's basically three parts of humans. So, you know, you've got the body, you've got your intellect, your mind, and you've got your heart and kind of the spirituality or soul. And so these three kind of represent that. And it's interesting because the father essentially is the one that's like, "Hey, I've got everything. I don't need anything else. I'm good." The younger son is like, I need to go out. I want to take risks. I want to do crazy things and see the world and all of that. And then you have the intellectual, the son is like, okay, like I'm gonna do this the smart way. I gotta go and I gotta achieve these goals. And I'm trying to figure life out. And it's interesting because each one has its value, and that's kind of another interpretation of the parable is that to go out and take risks and live and do things that may not be the right way. It's important because you're gonna take losses and you're gonna learn from those, and so you really want all three of these as a person. Now, the intellectual person, like if let's say from the private equity perspective, you invest in a business and it doesn't go well, the intellectual is like, hey, that was a waste. That like I can't, like get that money back. Like, why did I do that? I never want to take a risk again. That's kind of from the intellectual or the older brother perspective. I never want to take another one of these risks because it didn't go well. I lost money, and like, why would I ever do that? And but the kind of more mature, the father perspective is, hey, like he's gone out, he's learned those lessons, and now he's back. And now, like, I have my son. He needed to go do that and have that experience that he's been able to learn from. And we should celebrate it because that is valuable. And it's the thing that I'm always trying to express to clients. It's like there are no wasted opportunities, win or loss. It's your perspective. And that's kind of what he was trying to give the older son. It's like your perspective on it is that that was a waste. And my perspective on it is that that was a win because now I've got a son who is way more mature, who knows the risk, who's learned from that and had to let go of his ego. And now he's returned. And that's what I want. I want all three of those in a client. I want you to be that person that's willing to learn from risk. I want you to be smart and not do the dumb things. But I want you at the end of the day to know that, hey, none of this stuff matters. It's going to come and go. I'm happy. I'm learning from the lessons. I'm trying to get smarter and make sure that I'm doing things in the best way possible. But at the end of the day, it's just being self-sufficient and having the wisdom to learn. I can do things in an intellectual way, but I'm gonna have to take risks if I want to learn. So that is a quick kind of Sunday, Bible lesson for you guys, the Bible private equity lesson. Let me know what your thoughts are. Kept it short and sweet. Hopefully that gives you guys some inspiration. We got so much craziness going on in the world right now. So hopefully this gives you a little bit of inspiration to get started with the week. If you're interested in starting a private equity fund, be sure to hit us. If you're interested in buying your first business, we can also help with that. There are a lot of opportunities that I'll do a different video on that's specific and not as evergreen, but specific to the times that we're in right now. But suffice to say, there are some really big opportunities that will come from some of the things that are happening in the world. Thanks for watching the video. Thanks for some of the comments and questions. I'm definitely, now that we're kind of stuck inside and all that, you guys should get a couple of lives from me in the next few days. So look forward to those as well. Be sure to subscribe so you get that notification when I do those. Thanks.